Hey everyone, welcome to The Drop episode 3. Today is going to be a little more casual, a little bit more laid back. There wasn't a whole lot of crazy news, so we're just going to be talking about it. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is John Holt, and I'm just so excited to be here and talking about the theme parks again. Joining me, as always, is the co-host, Sean Spasato. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you just want to get into it?
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
Let's drop in.
Let's drop in. So we don't actually really have too many main topics today, but there are some small pieces of news coming out of Walt Disney World, and the first one that we're going to talk about is to let everyone know that Everest is going down, unfortunately.
It is.
Well, fortunately, unfortunately, it's a mixed bag on this one. They're doing a refurb. Don't get your hopes up, though. They already said it has nothing to do with theming, therefore, the Yeti's not going to be fixed, unfortunately. No.
Poor Yeti.
We're still, but we still get to have disco rave parties every day, with the Yeti.
All day, every day.
All day, every day.
Excuse me.
So the ride is set to go down on January 4th, and it'll be down for 3 months. And they're going to be doing I don't believe it's a retrack, it's just a refurbishing of the track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, the ride going down? It seems like it's going down at a good time. It's like right after the busy season. Mm-hmm. And there's not usually a whole lot going on in Animal Kingdom between January and March, April area.
I just know, isn't that typically when they start up? And if you're not a local, you may not be aware, but when they do the Discovery Disney tickets, isn't that when that starts, when you get the 3 days for $1.30?
Yeah,
and then
they usually have
starts some specials to get the locals back in.
But, because it's a slower part of the season. Yeah, they usually have a lot of local deals going on then.
Yeah, I know it. I will say from my own experience, last February, visiting the parks was still insane. Or at least the one, I guess, prior to COVID, correct? I'm still kind of back and forth. So, pre-COVID, I remember the February that happened before that. And it was still wild and insane. Mm-hmm. I remember going to Magic Kingdom on a Wednesday night with a friend. We were just going to chill in the park and see Happily Ever After. Yeah. And there was 6 million people. Rest in peace. And there was 6 million people, and we actually, this is only something a local can say, as we entered, we walked down Main Street and then we left because it was just so, we couldn't take it.
Oh my gosh.
Too intense.
Yeah, just recently in the last few years, Disney changed the way that they structured their ticket pricing. And that's the reason why the last few Februaries and I don't know, Septembers or those down times in the year. That's the reason why they've just been so busy, is because before a few years ago, the prices of tickets used to be steady. They had one set price for a day ticket. And then a few years ago, they started doing pricing based off of availability. So in the peak season, the tickets are going to be more expensive. Yeah. In the off season, tickets are going to be cheaper to kind of meet that price and demand sort of thing. And I guess that worked so well for them because now Disney doesn't really have a downtime.
No.
The only downtime we had recently was just because of COVID. The first few months when they reopened, there was some downtime.
On the limited capacity.
Yeah, because it was limited capacity and then border restrictions and stuff, so people couldn't travel as well. So there was some downtime for that. But yeah, with the prices of tickets going down, for the people who are I would love to go to Disney, but it's too expensive. Mm-hmm. Now they have the option to wait for February or March or whenever when tickets go down, and now those people can afford to go to Disney, which is great. But with the not consequence, but the
trade-off, I guess.
Yeah, the trade-off for that is now there's no downtime.
Yeah,
which is great for Disney. But it means 45-minute wait for People Mover in February.
But yeah, I mean, and forgive me because I completely got lost with the topic, but yeah, I mean, I guess it works that they're like now in the process of taking this
technical difficulties. One moment, keep going.
They're taking this time to refurbish this ride that people do love so much. It really is a staple at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I know it's what I look forward to when I go there. Prior to when Fast Pass was the thing, which obviously it is now not, we would always try to get Fast Passes for that because it was our favorite ride, and we would always do single riders, whatever we could to get on that attraction.
Yeah.
That was our reason to visit Animal Kingdom, in all honesty. For us, my specific friend group, I can't say that, like, I'm not saying it's a bad park. I'm not saying anything like that. It's just the people I personally hang out with, that is why we go there.
For sure.
Because Pandora typically is remarkably difficult to get onto, and so it's almost like a joke.
Yeah, and because of like the single riders line on Everest, it's one of the more like realistic rides to be able to get on.
Yeah,
which is great. I honestly don't know why Disney doesn't do single riders more often for their rides. Like, it works so well on Everest.
It does.
And like parks like Universal, I've seen great success with it. But yeah, like parks like SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Disney, it's very inconsistent if a ride has single riders or not. But I agree. Everest, I think that now that Pandora, so this is, I believe, this is the first time that ride is going down for extended refurbishment since it opened.
In like, oh my God, 2004?
2007, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it's like 17 years old or something like that. Something wild like that.
Yeah.
And I believe this is the first extended down. Of course, it's had a few days here and there, but in terms of like a month or more, I think this is the first time that it's actually gone down for an extended refurbishment. But yeah, before Pandora opened, I mean, even still now, because like what you're saying, Pandora, it's like so hard to get a reasonable wait time for either of those attractions.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help out too much. But now that Pandora is there, the impact of Everest going down is going to be a little less, less severe. Yeah. Because for years, Everest was like the e-ticket attraction in that park. And now between, Dinosaur's always been there. But with Dinosaur and Pandora and the Safari, at least you'll have a decent amount of things to do without Everest up.
That is true.
Yeah. And again, it's in the off season. So
it's
hopefully
not prime.
Yeah, hopefully like the waits will go down a little bit now that you can park hop again. The fact that Animal Kingdom has one less attraction won't hurt too much because you can just go to another park if you want. I don't know. Yeah, so I think that it definitely needs the refurb. I am glad that they're doing something with it because I remember when it opened, it was like so extremely smooth. Like it was like one of the smoothest coasters I've ever ridden. And it's still like, it's not like a wooden coaster now where it's like ridiculously rough, but it is dramatically more rough than it was before. So I'm excited that they're going to be taking care of that ride a little bit.
Yeah, giving it some TLC.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't actually know the last time I was on it. It's been like quite a bit of time. But I know, I can attest to what you're saying, that it's not as smooth as it once was. And I can say I've been on it a few times where it just breaks down and you're like up in the air.
Oh, really?
Like you're like looking over the park, right.
Like the track switch doesn't switch over or something.
Something or it just stops for some reason. And I've experienced that, and that's really not fun. But it's, I'm excited for this refurbishment. I don't know all the details, in all honesty, of what actually is happening.
Honestly, I don't really either.
I'm happy that this ride is being improved. So
it definitely needs some TLC. Yes. Thank you for taking care of your attractions. Normally you don't.
Thank you.
We see you on this one. Speaking of attractions, though, let's move over to more Disney news. They're starting doing they're starting to do test rides on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
You saw that, what's his name? Jeff Vail, the president of Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Recently rode Guardians of the Galaxy. It's still not finished yet, and he very much said in his statement, like, I'm excited to see, the final touches being put on it over the next few months or whatever. But yeah, you heard about that, right? What do you think about that?
I did. It's crazy because I feel like that ride has been in progress, quote unquote, being
for 35 years.
It's been like in construction for like ever. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be opened at the time of the 50th anniversary, which is now.
Yeah. We're past that point.
We're past that. We're beyond
Same
past
with Tron.
that. I remember back in I think 2018, when they first started, don't quote me on this, but I remember this was a few years ago when they started enclosing the ride building.
Yeah.
And now that was so long ago. And then it's of course there was a break in production during COVID, which I of course understand. But it has just been a long time coming, and it feels like this long time coming is never ending.
Oh, I know.
I'm ready. I'm excited to hear that they're in that phase where they can actually operate the attraction to some extent. And I'm really. It's just been a long time coming.
Well, it's what's funny is that
it's an inside joke.
The inside joke there. But yeah, it's funny. It's that ride has been fully built for 3 years now, 2 or 3 years now. The track, the actual operating structure of the coaster, the coaster itself, has been finished for 2 or 3 years now, something wild like that. And they've just been working on theming elements, and a big halt in production was them needing the media filmed for actually having the cast of the Guardians of the Galaxy film their parts and stuff, because James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, is actually directing the attraction
videos as well. That's wild.
The attraction videos. So he was going to film those sections at the same time as them filming Guardians of the Galaxy 3 to kind of cut down on production costs.
Yeah.
If you already have the Guardians of the Galaxy on set, why not film instead of having to reschedule everything? So that actually had a big pause on it too, because James Gunn got busy with directing Suicide Squad, because there's there's a lot of drama with Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
And then by the time Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got back on track, COVID hit and that got shut down. Yeah. And then the MCU, because it's not just one movie, it's the
20
MCU.
films.
They have to plan all these movies. Everything got backed up with them.
Now TV shows.
And now TV shows and everything. So production for the MCU got backed up, which backed up this attraction. And so production, or the actual...
It's just one big messy drainage system.
It really, for real. But yeah, everything on this ride got put on hold for a little while, for a few months, just because they physically couldn't do anything because they didn't have the footage to work with. But now James Gunn, it's been about a month or so since he confirmed that they had finished wrapping on production for the ride. So now it's full speed ahead on finishing this ride. I'm really excited for this attraction. Just because they have been hyping up this ride for so long. Yeah. I am honestly kind of afraid that they've hyped it up a little too much. I'm afraid that it might not be possible for it to live up to the expectations that they've been putting in. Because at the end of the day, it is just a family coaster. It's not... So it's not anything crazy or intense.
Because I feel like, isn't it like, from what we've gathered ourselves, isn't it going to be similar to like one of the Harry Potter attractions? What is the one
like Escape from Gringotts?
Like Escape from Gringotts.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibes I'm getting from everything I've seen and like the footage they've released of the ride operating, like the track footage.
Yeah, like it has a motorized like spinning element to it. Yeah, I do get Escape from Gringotts vibes. But what's interesting to me is that there's not going to be any physical sets. Like Escape from Gringotts, even though it is largely a screen-based attraction, there are some. It's kind of like the Spider-Man ride,
elements,
where
I guess.
there's like physical elements, and the screens kind of play into those physical elements for the most part. And what I've heard from Guardians of the Galaxy is everything is going to be screens. Kind of like if you know the other Harry Potter attraction, Forbidden Journey, the one that takes place in the castle, how it has those dome sections and like the dome follows you and there's like that motion simulator thing. Supposedly that's what Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be like. There's going to be like these screen domes that follow the coaster around or something wild like that. Yeah, it all sounds very interesting. What surprises me though is there's rumors coming out now that and if this is true, it's not going to just be the world's most expensive coaster ever built. It's going to be the world's most expensive coaster ever built times 3. The rumor is that the cost of this attraction is almost $1 billion. Oh
my God.
Which is insane.
Wild.
Because for the longest time, the world's most expensive attraction or roller coaster was Expedition Everest, which we just talked about. And that cost them $100 million to build. And then just recently, Universal broke that record again by 3 times. They built Hagrid's, which cost $300 million.
Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure.
It's just Hagrid's. I will never say that full name. It's just it's too much.
I read so many press releases. I had to know that by heart. But yeah.
Oh yeah. The Hagrid's Extreme Adventure of Magical Creatures, in which you ride in a motorbike adventure through the Forbidden Forest into a cave and then around the Hogwarts castle. That's the full title of that attraction. Anyways. So Hagrid's beat out that cost by 3 times, coming in at 300.
Like, whoa! We gotta up the game.
Right? It's kind of like they're kind of like going to head to head with this, right? But no, like it's still it's so wild. Like
that's a lot of money.
That is not just a lot. Like that is a unfathomable amount of money. And again, that's just a rumor. Like I actually don't know the official number. They haven't said anything. But if it's $1 billion, like there has never been a movie made for $1 billion. You know, like the most expensive movie ever made was like 300 something million for a budget.
Well, what was? Do you remember? Like I remember with like Captain EO and at Epcot, and then like the T2 attraction. Like both of those films, I remember, were astronomical. Like they were they were stupid expensive, and both of which they were only 20 minutes long.
Terminator 2 to this day, like the Terminator 2 3D attraction to this day,
it's not open anymore.
It's the most expensive piece of film ever filmed.
That was what I thought it was.
Yeah, because they put so much budget into it. And it was only like 20 minutes. So it's the most expensive film per minute ever filmed.
Created. But Captain EO was up there too.
Yeah, I think it came in at like number 2 or something like that.
They had like, oh my God, was it George Lucas? Who was a part of that?
Yeah, it was like George Lucas and Michael Jackson and I believe
the other guy that's really famous,
Steven Spielberg.
It was like this incredible trio of remarkably expensive people.
Yeah.
In addition to like just the production
and everything
as well.
But
I just like so. It's weird because these things have been done in the past in this weird way, And I guess it's just a new way, I guess. The parks have always done it big, but this seems really big. And I guess that's what you're trying to say.
This is kind of like, they're pushing the boundaries in every area, it seems. Which is it's wild to me because, right, like, so Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind was...
You mean Guardians? I'm just...
Guardians, just Guardians. Guardians was... such a we have to distinguish it between the Guardians and DCA
of course, yes.
and the Guardians here of course
yes.
No, I'm just it doesn't matter, I don't care, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's already like, the rumors are saying that they have already spent like $1 billion on this attraction. And I remember pretty early on it came out that there were extreme budget cuts already on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind because they had like 13 animatronics planned to be in the ride. Like there were going to be character animatronics and everything. And the budget got cut back so much that they couldn't afford to build any of the animatronics. So there's not going to be a single animatronic in this ride at all. And there's a rumor that maybe there's going to be one animatronic in the pre-show, like in the queue area.
Yeah.
Which is, so that's insane.
Almost
it's
like Rocket Raccoon, I guess. And,
and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Rocket and they just kind of like recycled it to save some money.
Yeah.
Like use the same designs and all that.
But you know what? Like that kind of bothers me because I think about like we just talked about Hagrid's Magical Creatures, Motorbike Adventure, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's like...
Hagrid's.
Whatever. There's like 1,000 animatronics in that. Like, is there not?
Well, no, there really is.
There's like 1,000,
so much,
and I remember when they
1,003 actually.
1,003. I remember coming up to the release of that. Universal kept releasing like images of each one. I think it's like 7.
Yeah.
That's like off the record because I don't actually know. But it's like a lot.
Yeah, it's something.
And because they were like, we made all of these animatronics and they were so excited.
Yeah.
That's why that's.
Yeah, and they like, especially the Hagrid animatronic
was so like life changing. Like,
yeah,
it was so
like
incredible.
they shared some video of it where it literally looked just like Hagrid. Yeah. It was kind of, it was insane. And I think the reason why they did marketing so huge for that was because like that was right when there was that height of like anger at Universal, like stop building all these screen-based attractions. Because like we had just gotten tangible. Fast and Furious, and it kind of like it broke a lot of people. They were like, we're done. You need to stop this. So, and Universal's been really good at like paying attention to fans.
Moving
and I think they knew that there was a lot of frustration with that.
Yeah.
So they really marketed that ride to be like, guys, there's not a single screen in this ride. Like it's all animatronics.
It's all tangible.
It's all tangible. Yeah. Even like the pre-show does have that Musion effect, which is technically a screen. But even
up in the air, the spiders, are you talking about?
The pre-show where Hagrid comes out and
I know,
like he multiplies the bikes and stuff. Yeah.
In the COVID world, you just walk through the area. And
it was shut. It is playing now, but it was shut down for the longest time. But it is back now. But there's that one screen in the pre-show area. But even like the queue line is so like tangible.
It is.
Like everything about that ride is.
It's amazing. It is. Yeah.
And, even with Velocicoasters, there's not like really any screens in that ride either.
No.
So they did a great job recently at coming out with rides that are very animatronic based.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like Disney's going backward. Like Disney and Universal are on backwards tracks.
They're taking pages out of each ot's books.
Well, it's like Universal they got their name from like the screen-based attractions, right? Like Back to the Future was revolutionary, where Disney was like got their name with Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean,
Space Mountain.
Like all these rides that have so many animatronics. It's a small world. Like all these rides with that physically based sets and all this. And now they're kind of like going backwards, where Universal is now saying we've got to make more like real attractions, and not like real attractions, but like physical attractions.
Yeah.
And Disney lately has just been doing very screen-based stuff. Like there's been Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah.
And then Ratatouille.
That's a lot of screens.
It's a lot of screens. Yeah.
That's a lot of screens.
Yeah. And so a lot, and so there's been like, it's kind of interesting, you know, like and even Pandora and all that, very screen based.
It is. You could argue like Rise is like, there's a lot of physicality.
There is a lot of physical stuff,
but there's also like a lot of screens as well, I guess. But
I feel like a lot of the pre-show,
the
pre-show's a lot of screens. That ending section is all screen. Rise is like a good mix of everything, though. Yeah.
No, I agree.
It's interesting to note that, like, you know, and Guardians of the Galaxy is 100% screens from what we're hearing. So, yeah, it's just interesting that, like, the two companies are kind of
like taking notes from each other.
Yeah. They're on different tracks.
Well, and then, like, I'm trying to think, what is the other Star Wars attraction? It's just a big video
Millennium
game.
Falcon, Smuggle Run.
It's literally just a big video game.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a massive screen. That's what I'm saying. That's all. Because you're literally sitting in a spaceship. So, yeah, to just further your point, that's all. But, yeah.
That is really interesting. I wonder, like, I'm curious to know about, like, the future projects that Disney has planned. I feel like we have Guardians of the Galaxy and we have Tron, and we're waiting for those two things.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting for those two things for so long.
Yeah.
Which is insane, because, like, Tron's even a clone of another ride, so it's like, it shouldn't be taking this long. Why is it taking this long? And I don't want to harp on that, because I know everyone's talking about that.
Of course, yeah.
But my point with that is saying, like, it's interesting that, like, I don't think we really know what's coming up after those two. So Guardians opens, like, we know when Guardians opens roughly. Like, we know that it's like spring or summer of 2022. It's opening next year.
May of 2022. I believe.
May of 20. Okay, so we have a month. Yeah. But we have no clue when Tron opens.
Yeah. I don't personally know.
Yeah.
No.
I have been predicting in, like, my Tron construction updates and stuff, just based off of where they're at with production and construction, and the fact that they have claimed that it's going to be open before the end of the 50-year celebration. I've said that I'm predicting that it's going to be at the very, very end of summer or early fall of 2022, which would put it, you know, a few months after Guardians. That's just my guess, though. Like, we don't even know. But, like, but, like, we get to that point, Tron does open. Like, what next? You know, like, do you even know? Like, there's some stuff for Disneyland planned and some of the other Disney parks, but for Disney World, I honestly don't know. And I'm very interested to find out, because of what we were just talking about. Like, you know, Disney has been, you know, spending so much money on these big attractions, but a lot of them have been very screen based. And I feel like the Disney fans are starting to get to the point where the Universal fans were a few years ago, where it's like, all right, come on, like,
give me something I can touch.
Give me something a little bit more real here.
The only thing I can say to that is, I know there's still so much to be seen at Epcot, like, as far as, oh my God, is it still Future World?
Or, like all the construction stuff.
Because that technically is
World Celebration.
That's still all technically happening. I mean, it's granted, there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes. So to answer your question, that's the only thing I know of that is actually still in the pipeline to eventually premiere. Yep. It's weird because a lot of people had kind of, I've heard this from a few different people, but just with COVID, they were given this opportunity to kind of schedule all these things more sparsely.
Well, I feel like they reevaluated
they were able to,
a lot of things.
spread things out because everything originally was we're dropping 20 things at the 50th anniversary.
Well, originally we're dropping 50 things,
50
at the 50th anniversary.
And then,
maybe 20.
maybe 20.
Yeah.
But it like since COVID, obviously, like we've said 1,000 times, the production on all these things got pushed back so drastically. Things got cut completely, like the Mary Poppins experience.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's weird because I feel like they were given this really rare opportunity to kind of redirect themselves. They gave themselves all this window of time to schedule out all these things. And I feel like it's kind of worked in their favor in some regard because it's given people a reason to keep coming back for the next, like, at least two years.
Yeah, there's things on the schedule.
Yes,
yeah.
and so it's worked in their favor in that regard. However, beyond that, besides the new stuff coming to Epcot, I don't really know what's next.
Isn't really a whole lot of new stuff.
No.
I mean, they have, so the only thing that's really confirmed at this point is the Moana walkthrough.
Yeah.
Which is, it doesn't even sound like an attraction. It kind of sounds like, you know how they have those jumping fountains by Journey into Your Imagination or whatever. I don't even know what is it called.
Journey into Imagination.
It's not Your Imagination. They've changed it so many times.
Remember.
I don't. The Imagination ride, the one that everyone hates, that used to be good and now isn't. Yeah, they have those jumping fountains over there by like where they show the Pixar stuff and all that. I genuinely just kind of feel like it's going to be
just like
a 2022 version of that. You know, like you walk through and there might be some nice trees and some water installations, like some water fountains or whatever, some like magical jumping fountains. And I feel like that's going to be about it.
Well, it sucks because like they were originally going to completely redo Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, but see, that's even up in the air right now.
No one knows.
Yeah.
I don't know if they officially called that as like, we're never doing this, or because I believe with Mary Poppins, this is never going to happen.
Yeah, so they officially pulled the Mary Poppins stuff.
Yes, but Spaceship Earth, it was like an indefinite
hold on that one. Yeah. Which I feel like is very quietly going to just get pushed away. I feel like if they do anything to it, it might be a refurbishment of what we have right now. But they were going to completely overhaul the whole last half of that ride. Yeah. Like cut out scenes and build new scenes.
And then add that new talking person. Redo the way her voice is kind of the storytelling.
So they were going to have a different voiceover artist, and that it was going to be a completely different story. So right now it is talking about communications, the way communications has progressed. But the new version was going to talk about storytelling. So it was going to talk about the evolution of storytelling over the ages, which I actually really like.
Well, they said, I remember too, it was the way her voice would be, I guess, included in the attraction would be different.
They had that storytelling light thing.
Like it was that, like that's how she travels around with you, and it's not so much just in the cart. Like you hear the voice
like the beginning, like in the Dark Ages and all that was supposed to be like the storytelling light thing was supposed to be like the stars lighting up and all that, and then as you progress, it was supposed to become more and more modern. So like the Industrial Revolution, it would turn into like, instead of stars, it would look like electricity. And then as you progress into like the computer age, it would turn into like fiber optic kind of looking lights. So it was supposed to even like progress with time even and all that.
More than that,
Which sounds really cool.
It does.
And a big part
expensive.
Yeah. But the biggest part of the refurb was actually going to be a complete retrack of the whole ride. Like they were going to completely retrack everything. Which it honestly kind of needs, because when you go through there, all you hear is as you're like going over the track pieces.
The sounds are not pleasant. No, they're not.
Like it feels old. And it sounds old, which kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So but I hope that they do something with Spaceship Earth. It's such an iconic attraction. It needs some love.
It deserves love.
It deserves
and
love.
I know they've redone the outside.
We love the big golf ball in the sky.
And it's beautiful. The exterior,
Oh,
the new
yeah.
lighting effects are amazing. But they redid the entrance to Epcot. They tore down all those rocks.
Oh,
Whatever.
thank God! Finally,
it
looked like you were walking into a tomb, like a
Stonehenge or something.
Well, yeah, it looked like you were walking to a graveyard or something. Like, what is this?
But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But.
Yeah, no, they've done a great job with like the what are they calling it for the beacons of the 50th beacons or what?
Light
the beacons of light.
Something.
Yeah. Like I was at Hollywood Studios a few weeks ago, and it was the first time that I had seen them light up the Tower of Terror, which is so funny because like the other parks, they light up the icon of the park, and I was hanging out with some friends, and they were saying like it's so weird that like Hollywood Studios icon is like so spooky and all that, and I was like, well, actually, the icon of Hollywood Studios is not the Tower of Terror, it's the Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's not. They have the Tower of Terror lit up. Of course, like they have the icons of all the other parks lit up. They have the Tower of Terror here. The Tower of Terror is the icon. I was like, but it's not. And so yeah, it is kind of weird that they decided to light up the Tower of Terror instead of the Chinese Theater. I don't know. I guess the Tower of Terror is just more iconic, maybe.
Maybe it's become that way. I don't know.
Yeah, or it's just taller, so you can do more with it, maybe.
I always think about that billboard that's been there for 1,000 years of the Tower of Terror, where it has like the people on the
Oh
ride.
yeah, when you're driving to Magic
Since
Kingdom.
I was a little boy,
I know.
seen that there, and so that
I love it.
That's all I can think about. But yeah, if they ever got rid of that, I would protest.
Yes, that's the best part of your drive into the Magic Kingdom.
It's super awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I was there and I saw them lighting it up and doing like the little show thing that they do, and I actually was really impressed. I've thought that they've done a great job with the beacons of magic or beacons of light or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't roast us. Please forgive us for not knowing that. We tried. But yeah, and I think on one of our last podcasts, it was either the last podcast or the podcast before, I had said, like, I don't know why they didn't do this sooner for the Epcot Ball, like for Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Like, it is so beautiful. And it's so simple, too. Like, it's not like it's some revolutionary technology. It's literally just like programmed like lights.
Yeah. Like running lights.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what it is.
Yeah, and it's literally like they didn't have to do anything to Spaceship Earth. Like there was already that hole in between the little triangle segments, and it was like perfectly. It seemed like it was built for that, you know.
It's almost like Walt envisioned that, like with the design of the.
Yeah,
well,
did Walt even design it?
I don't know.
think Walt designed
I thought
it.
Wasn't
maybe.
Epcot like his plan? I saw it, and then he died, of course, prior to its.
Well, so
conception,
Epcot was his idea, but Epcot was not a theme park.
Was it not? Okay.
Epcot was it stands for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
Yes.
And so his idea was actually a city. Like he was going to build a city.
Yeah.
Where people actually lived in the city and worked in the city and had recreation in the city, and it was supposed to be like an experimental prototype of what a real city could be
in the future.
So like in the center was recreation, and they had like shopping malls and like anything recreational, and that's where World Showcase comes from. Like the idea of World Showcase comes from, because in the center there was going to be recreation that represented like all the different cultures of the world and stuff, and there was going to be like a people mover and a monorail and all that like actually went through the center. And then as you expanded, you would have like your working, and it was like all built in a circle, and like you would have like your working district where there were like different automotive, like there was going to be like automotive plants where they built experimental prototype cars and stuff. So like this whole thing was like they were trying to experiment with how to progress technology, how to progress industry, how to progress recreation, how to progress like living. So on the outside, you had all your living residences where they had like parks and housing and all this. And it was like really interesting. Like there's so much that Walt literally like mapped out everything for Epcot. It's a really interesting, fascinating story. Maybe we can do a podcast on that sometime
in the future.
and actually like do a deep dive into what Epcot was supposed to be versus what Epcot is now. Like it's really fascinating. But when it came time to building a second park, they didn't really have any concepts from Walt other than the fact that he presented Epcot to the governor of Florida and like the like all these different like government bodies in Florida and all that. And so they took that idea and said, what from this can we take and to inspire a theme park for, which is the reason why Epcot is so much more educational other than like entertaining, is because there was so much from the original Epcot idea that Walt had that was based on pushing science forward and pushing community forward and pushing industry forward and all this. So that's kind of like why the park is developed the way that it is. You know, like you have your World Showcase that celebrates culture. You have like your land pavilion that celebrates agriculture and all this. You have your future kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because so much of those ideas got pulled from the experimental ideas that Walt Disney had for the original Epcot. I don't know how we got on that topic. We were talking about
fine.
Who designed the Epcot ball.
I don't know. I know.
I don't think the ball was in the original design. I don't know.
Whoever did.
Yeah.
They were a genius.
It looked great.
It does.
You know, when you ride the People Mover next time, you'll have to go through the model of Epcot.
You know, it's funny. I've been through there. You know, it's funny.
You know what's funny?
I've been through there.
It's very funny.
And I need to pay closer attention. I do.
Yeah, I don't think the ball is in that model. But that was like based off of the actual model that Walt Disney made.
Of what the city would have been.
Of what the city would have been. Yeah.
Wild stuff.
But yeah, no, I thought they did a great job with all the beacons of light and all that. But since we were talking about Hollywood Studios and like the Tower of Terror and all like the lighting on all that, let's jump over to something else that is really popular in Hollywood Studios. Let's talk about entertainment. Did you see that they're bringing back Indiana Jones finally?
Yes, the stunt spectacular. Correct?
Yes, the stunt show that they have. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. It's about time.
It's about time.
It's interesting because with that attraction or show, what have you, it's always been outside.
Yeah.
I know it was obviously originally taken away because of COVID restrictions, but it is also interesting because I don't know why that wasn't one of the first to come back, only because of the fact that it was completely outdoors, whereas like the Frozen sing-along is all inside and it's actually quite cold, which I believe is like can lead to the spread of like germs and COVID. Like that supposedly air conditioning specifically can affect the spread of COVID in a room. I'm not a scientist.
I believe,
but I just know like that's why they always want face masks indoors.
Yeah.
Whereas outdoors, that's not so much the case, and so that's why I didn't understand why the Sun Spectacular took or whatever. I don't even actually know the name of it honestly, but why it's taken so long to come back. Personally, I just don't know the cause of it. Yeah,
so it's actually I don't know too much about the science of COVID and all that.
Does?
Because like I know like when things were like when movie theaters were reopening, they were talking about their HVAC systems and how it like filters things out every, like the whole room can be filtered out in like 2 minutes or something like that. Like, so I actually don't know a whole lot about the science behind all that. I do know that the reason for why that show didn't open sooner was like union stuff. So the union or the Actors Guild or union or whatever that all these performers were part of were demanding certain things from Disney in terms of COVID protocols, but also in terms of like wages and all that. and Disney didn't want to deal with it for the time being, so they just didn't resolve anything, which is the reason why things like Festival of the Lion King took so long to come back. Because I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe that those two shows are like the same union. Or whatever. But I know that one also didn't come back because of like union disputes and stuff. So it's good to see that they're finally resolving a lot of that stuff, and those things are coming back.
So it wasn't even COVID restrictions. It was just literally contract issues.
Contract issues. Like, Disney just didn't want to bring back entertainment enough to deal with those things. But it's now getting to a point where it's like, everything has been open. Like, you're not even requiring us to social distance anymore. Like, no. Like, it's time to bring back. Like, if I'm paying full price to be here, it's time to bring back the parade, and they're bringing back Festival of Fantasy. That's great. But it's like, it's time to bring back entertainment. Yeah. So they're bringing, they brought back Festival of Lion King and all that. And now they're bringing back Indiana Jones, which is great. That's actually Indiana Jones before COVID was something every time I went to Hollywood Studios, I'd have to see Indiana Jones. I loved that show so much. So I am very happy they're bringing it back. So they're doing they're doing cast member previews coming up soon. I actually don't know when. I think it's this Friday and this Saturday or something like that. So it's coming up fast. But honestly, by the time you're seeing this, it might have already happened. So they're doing cast member previews pretty soon before it opens. And I have heard, again, just rumor, speculation, that they might be changing quite a bit of the show. Wow. So I don't know if that's true. I know there were talks.
Hopefully not the big boulder.
Yeah, right. No. No, I think it's going to... So there were talks, I can't remember if it was before COVID or after COVID, but like right in that time period, like when everything was shutting down. I think it was right before the park shut down. There were talks of them closing the attraction for a while to do rewrites on it. I don't know if it was before COVID or after COVID hit, but it was like right around that area. I believe it was right before the park shut down. Actually, they were talking about shutting down the show in order to do some rewrites on it and actually remove a lot of the behind the scenes, look at the filmmaking side of things, just because the park itself was moving so far past that, it's no longer a studio park really. Like Indiana Jones is kind of like the one last remaining thing that does that. Like, let's pull the curtain back and show you how the movies are made kind of thing. So there was a lot of rumors going around that they were going to do that. Now, I don't know if they did do that since everything shut down, but there are some talks that maybe the show that's opening back up is not the same show that we remember shutting down. If it is different at all, I'm assuming, I would say, in my opinion, that it's probably going to be very, very, very similar, maybe with just some small tweaks. Like maybe they don't have the audience, pull the audience members or something like that anymore. If there's one thing that they would cut or rewrite or something, it would probably be that section, I would assume. But yeah, either way, I'm just excited for that to be back. I think that Universal can kind of get away without there being a whole lot of live entertainment. But Disney's really known for their live shows, and I feel like the last year and a half, it's been a very different experience not having those big performances happening at the parks. Lackluster. Yeah. So I'm excited that they're bringing them back, and those actors have been working at the parks for so long. Yeah. So it's going to be great having them back too. Yeah. So.
You know what? I will say it's weird to, I guess, think about that, but until you said that, I hadn't thought about that in a while. The fact that Hollywood Studios has moved to more so not so much behind the camera, but I guess in front of it. Because I can't help but think about oh my god, what was it was the stunt racing one. What
Oh,
was that?
Lights, Motor, Action.
Lights, Motor, Action.
Yeah.
That's gone with the wind. And then also they did that. Was it a tram tour?
They did a tram tour for
and
sure.
that
Yeah.
those are all gone, which is so wild. Because when I was in college, they had both of those attractions.
Wow, you're getting old.
I am so old. I was like, I graduated college in 2016, so it's weird to think that which I could get. That was still what? Oh my gosh, how many years ago was that? That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Math is not our strong
It's
suit.
not. But so it's just, I guess I could see them doing those rewrites, but of course it's not confirmed by Disney at this time.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was also talks of a name change for the park and everything. But we were just talking about how there have been so many budget cuts because of COVID and all that.
Yeah.
Like the whole Epcot project completely changing. Like they had that Dreamers Point or whatever in Epcot, and they had that big. I don't know, like IKEA table looking thing that they, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like there's that 2-story thing, like that whole 2-story building on the backside of Spaceship Earth isn't getting built at all anymore.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff. So
that math. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't even know what it's called. I forget what it's called. There was some name for it.
Was it a bar or was it like, it wasn't a restaurant, was it?
No, it was like some lookout lounge thing. I'm sure there would have been a bar in there.
Yeah.
But it was more of just like a lookout, like hangout kind of place, I think.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it looked really cool. Honestly, that was what I was looking forward to the most. Honestly, like
Yeah.
just a place to hang out in Epcot. Like to me, Epcot is like the hangout park. Like
Yeah.
I don't go there to ride Living with the Land or
No.
I don't go there specifically for that ride.
Yeah.
Like when I'm there, heck yeah, I love riding that ride. But like that's not what draws me to the park.
Yeah.
Epcot is a hangout park. It's a park you go to with friends and chill.
It's very social.
Yeah, it's very social. So like that building would have been like a really neat addition to Epcot. But anyways, we're getting off track. We're getting back to Epcot.
Okay. And I'll say one thing, just because we're referencing so many things in this podcast that should have been, but obviously may not ever happen. But for those who are at home, like who maybe are not so super fanny, if you go back to this was all announced at the 2019 D23 Expo. Was it not?
Yeah. The big expo that they have in Anaheim.
And that was where they really announced all of this. So for those of you who are at home, like, what are they talking about?
What are they talking? Yeah.
That's like all these amazing things. I always want to rewatch it myself because I forgot about that as well, in honesty.
Yeah, they had some really big announcements where they showed a few pieces of concept art and they really talked a lot about
it was
these
into the new
different things.
Epcot. It was.
Yeah. Big, huge Epcot overall. And all of not all these things, but the vast majority of these things are either canceled, like completely scrapped, or they're just up in the air. Like we talked about Mary Poppins being completely scrapped. Yeah. This is another thing that is confirmed that it's like completely scrapped. I can't believe I forget the name of it. It's not like Lookout Point or I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm sure I put up the concept art for the people. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, I'm sure I put up the photo, the concept art photo, so you know what I'm talking about. But it's another thing that like budget cuts and all that. So going back to Hollywood Studios, there's that rumor that they were just going to completely change the name of the park and everything to make it fit a little bit more, like fit the theme. But with that, like with COVID and all that, I don't think that they're doing that. Like I haven't heard any talks about that in quite some time. So it'll be interesting to see how Indiana Jones opens. Like if it's like if they just didn't make any changes, or if they did go ahead and like rewrite a lot of it, because that'll give us some big insight into like what is going on behind the scenes with the decision making for that park. Because I feel like if it opens and there's no changes, well then
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Like it's going to stay Hollywood Studios. There's not a whole lot that they're like. What we have is what we have, and we're going to stick with that for the foreseeable future. But if it opens up and there's quite a few changes to the script of that show, it'll be like, oh, okay, some of these ideas that they had for transitioning to the park to fit more of what it is, some of those ideas might still be on the table, and they might still be working towards those things. Granted, slower than before.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll still be working on those ideas a little bit. So I actually think there's a lot that we can look into with the opening of Indiana Jones. So I'm excited to see it again.
Yeah. And you said when all this talk first started happening about the name change, wasn't it was it the 30th anniversary? What was the anniversary that just happened for Hollywood Studios?
Oh man. Yeah, it was 30 because it was
30th anniversary.
1 year late. It opened one year before Universal
Orlando.
Studios.
Hollywood Orlando.
Orlando. That's That's the name of that park. Hollywood Orlando. Yeah. And Universal just did their 30th anniversary
because
too.
there was so much talk then because that was when they did the official logo change, was it not?
Yeah, was that for the 30th?
I think so.
30th, yeah, they redid the archway and all that.
Yes, and I think that's when all that talk first got really intense. Mm-hmm. But of course, that was right before COVID as well.
Yeah.
Literally the year before, was it not? 2019.
Yeah, the year before.
And then 2020, everything went to where, but
down the drain.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of right at that end of we're finally starting to reach the end of the plans that were set in place before COVID hit. And I don't really know what's going to be coming up after that, because also 2019, I hate to bring more attention to this, but Bob Iger was still CEO then. Now we have new leadership. So a lot of these announcements that were made back then were still, and again, Bob Chapek is the CEO now, but he was over the parks and resorts then too. So he still had a role in these decisions and stuff, but he's now has even more of a role in all of it, obviously, because he's the CEO. So there's new leadership in play now too. So between the obvious changes that are going to happen for a few years at least because of COVID, and then also leadership changes as well, we're kind of right at that end of okay, we can see these are the things that we have. We have a schedule here. We know okay, next year we're getting this and this. Maybe the year after we might get this and this. But we're getting really close to, okay, but what's coming up next? And it'll be really interesting to see what does happen. Because I know a lot of fans are praying that we don't have another Dark Ages, when, unfortunately, when 9/11 happened back in 2001.
Oh, yeah, and travel just ceased to exist, and tourism was in the where.
And because of that, budgets got cut.
Yeah.
Things stopped happening. It was so bad that Universal actually almost shut down completely. They almost went under. And Disney for a long time had a period where just nothing happened. And then around 2010 or so, so a few things happened in that era. Obviously there was leadership change at Disney. Bob Iger came in as CEO, and he immediately made some really big changes to the company. Not just in the movies, not just in the theme parks, but everything. The whole company had a bunch of changes. They immediately changed strategy, and that's when they bought Pixar and all that. So that's really interesting. So for Disney, they had big changes there, and then for Universal, that's when they announced that Harry Potter's coming to the parks.
Yeah.
And Harry Potter, we were just talking about this in our last episode, Harry Potter changed not just the face of Universal. Universal was at a point where they almost shut down. They almost closed their doors completely. And then Harry Potter came in, and now they're, competing head to head with Disney, especially financially.
Yeah.
And so there's that, but it also changed the face of the theme park industry, period, completely across the board. Because now, largely in part of Harry Potter, it felt like there was a fresh wind in the industry. So people really started coming back to Universal and coming back to Disney. And COVID is kind of like that new, like today's version of 9/11, you know, not in the sense of like what actually happened, but just, you know, travel shut down.
It's a big disaster.
It's a big disaster that caused travel to shut down. Even after travel's reopened, people are afraid to travel.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the industry has seen a lot of hits. And even though the theme park industry is now starting to get to the point where it's becoming profitable again, like we're starting to see these companies having, Universal's been in the black for quite a while now. Disney's just now starting to come back around and start making a profit in their quarterly returns and all that, which is great to hear. But, you know, because of that, because of the pandemic, there's still going to be a lot of changes that are going to happen. And I know a lot of fans are freaking out, kind of like hoping that we don't have another like dark era where it's like 10 years goes by, almost 10 years goes by, and we don't have anything new. Like Disney, for those 8, 9, 10 years, however long it was just like those parks were just rotting away. Yeah. Like there was nothing happening to them. So I think, I know that's like really big grand scale, but I feel like these small things that we're starting to get back, like Indiana Jones, for example, we can take a look at those things and see, like, I feel like we'll be able to predict the next few years, like what is it going to look like? Because if it just opens up and everything is the same, like I said, you know, you can feel like maybe they're stale. It might be a little stale. Yeah. And yeah, just it'll be interesting to see if they make any big announcements over the next year or so for Disney, because we're kind of getting to that stage where they don't have a whole lot planned out for the future. With Universal, they have a whole third park coming, you know, and we're constantly hearing about like new things for them, not just like in Orlando, but globally. Like they just opened up Universal Beijing, which is it's getting so many awards right now and recognition. The park is supposedly like one of the world's best theme parks ever built. So really exciting stuff for them. It'll be interesting to see what Disney does for their next few moves. So, but yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to cover? Sorry, we didn't really have a bullet point topic list of like what to do. Yeah, we just kind of like
unorthodox tonight. Yeah,
it was a little bit more laid back,
which I love.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think that's really it. Those were the biggest things on my mind for this week. Mm-hmm. We could maybe discuss the dates have been announced for the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival.
Flower and Garden Festival. Do you know those off the top of your head?
I do not.
Oh, so maybe we can't talk about them.
But we can say that.
We can say that they have been announced.
Been announced officially. Mm-hmm. And I know that is a big deal for a lot of vacation planners who like to specifically...
I am pulling it up right now.
They live for festival time.
Yes. They also announced that Farts is returning. Festival of the Arts.
Yeah.
We will, Farts 22. It'll be here. Okay. International Flower and Garden Festival will take place March 2nd through July 4th. Oh, interesting. It ends on Independence Day.
Wow.
That's 125 days to enjoy fresh cuisine, colorful gardens, playful topiaries, and great entertainment. That comes from wdwinfo.com.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a pretty lengthy festival.
It is.
Yeah.
That's very long.
Yeah, that happens right after Festival of the Arts, right? So it's Festival of the Arts, then Flower and Garden, right? And then Food and Wine.
I just know Food and Wine is the last one before holidays, is it not?
Yes, and Food and Wine is literally like 6 months, yeah.
And then it's Festival of the Holidays from like November through the end of the year.
Or no, Food and Wine was till, I think it was like November 3rd this year.
Was it November? Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was literally like I remember when they announced it, I was doing the math and like there's more, there was like more days in Food and Wine than there was in any other festival or something like that combined.
It's a
There's something
massive,
wild
that
like
is
that.
like
Yeah.
the event.
Yeah, it's like the
for
event for Epcot.
Yeah.
It just keeps on getting longer and longer and longer because they don't do like a Halloween thing at Epcot. So that's kind of what they replace that with.
Yeah, the only holiday they really celebrate is Christmas, is it not? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I do believe so. I think, so they do a New Year's Eve kind of like fireworks thing, but it's not like a festival.
Yeah.
I think they do a Independence Day, 4th of July fireworks thing. I could be wrong about that one. I know for sure that they do New Year's Eve at Epcot. But yeah, either way, those are both not like festivals.
No.
But they do holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think holiday, like and
they're not
so
multi-day
Christmas,
events, I guess.
Yeah, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day is like wrapped into the holidays. It's like holidays is the catch-all. So I guess kind of New Year's Eve does have its thing, but holidays is Christmas. So yeah, I think that is the only.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's weird. There's no like Easter celebration. There's no like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like the holidays are blanking in my head.
Valentine's
There's
Day.
no like Valentine's.
They don't celebrate Christopher Columbus Day.
No.
There's no Memorial
or Flag Day.
Flag Day. Yeah. Whatever. But yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. Actually, that's So if you are planning a trip and you do like festivals, you do have a new festival opening up March 4th.
March 4th, 2022.
2022. So yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. Like I said, it was a little bit unorthodox. We kind of just talked and had conversations. So let us know if you prefer podcasts like this or a little bit more structured like our last two. It's still a new podcast, so we're kind of figuring out what works, what doesn't, what people like, what they don't. So seriously, let us know what you think of this format. I had a good time.
I did too.
Just talking about the parks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sean, where can the people find you on social media and all that?
Instagram at Sean Spazzato.
Awesome. And you can find me on pretty much any of the social media platforms, just at John Holt 96. That's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube for the video and subscribe on any of your podcasting apps of choice. We got iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, literally all of them. And go ahead and leave us a review over there. But yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, as I have said. And guys, we will see you in the next episode. Remember, the adventure lives on. Peace.